social imperative is necessary for the empowerment of all South Australians into the future, and we urge the opposition to look for the future and look to all, regardless of their gender.
Yeah.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a refuter. The Honourable Simon.
Mr. Speaker, Honourable Simon Wilcox.
Yeah.
I would like you to take a look at my party. At the sheer number of women that currently represent it. I don't quite understand why we need such a quota when it's clear that on pure merit alone we've managed to get this many women into this chamber.
Yeah.
These are the next generation of parliamentarians, the ones that will soon be sitting in state and federal governments. Not only is this motion somewhat useless, it has no real way of being changed. How do you determine in elections that people will magically elect 50% women and 50% men?
Yeah.
You can try fielding them, but if people then just end up electing more men or more women, we've failed to meet this quota.
Yeah.
Worse yet, the bill doesn't, you say all genders, but the bill simply says 50-50
Not a
representation.
bill.
It's
Do you
a
want
Motion, sorry.
Yeah.
I apologise. It has no way of mentioning how do we get non-binary people or any people who do not identify as one of the two main genders.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, this is a motion for parties to implement. Parties themselves can choose to run candidates of 50% men, 50% women, and of course, open it up to other genders. And if people want them, people will elect those parliamentarians. Case in point, the lovely members here.
Yeah.
This motion is both irrelevant and somewhat discriminatory, and I implore the Parliament not to pass it.
Yeah.
I thank the Honourable Member. We now have the microphone working. I call upon a sponsoring member. The Honourable Georgia.
I will not be lectured about misogyny and sexism by this man. I will not. By nature, democracy is the equal representation of the people. That is the underlying principle of our country. That is a principle that we should never ever go against. Everyone should be represented equally in Parliament so that every voice can be heard as much as they can. Women make up half the population, so why shouldn't we be represented this way in the Parliament? Case in point, we don't think that it was fair for the member of the opposition to make an example of the current youth parliamentarians here, as currently the number of women in Parliament don't even reach 1/3 of how many members there are. Currently in South Australia, there are 12 women out of the 47 in Parliament, with 3 female ministers out of the 12. Honourable members of both sides, this is not equal representation in any way, shape or form. Accurate reflection is absolutely imperative, because currently there are just white men making decisions about women's bodies. For example, bills on abortion, female hygiene products, violence that somewhat mostly applied to women. We think that this is unacceptable. There are more than enough capable women out there to make decisions. They need that extra push and support because of the historical connotations of women not being involved in Parliament, which discourages them. Women represented in proportion to the population, we give them an avenue to speak for themselves. This motion is a further step towards true democracy. Honourable members, this is why we're standing here today, and that is why we need to pass this motion.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a refuter. The Honourable Manu Chamba.
Let's talk about equality, because that's what this motion is about, right? Well, how could the government justify equality if they're selecting people solely based on gender? It should be based on How is this equal to people who are
Honourable Member. I call upon a sponsor, the Honourable Mr. Cassell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Harry Cassell. I'd just like to address the opposition's statements that what about Indigenous people, what about people from other cultures? A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It's just because we're not doing all the other I'd also like to inform the opposition that quota does not mean non-binary members will be discriminated against. Rather, the quota calls for a 50-50 social quota between men and women. All other genders are not included in this quota. If you have only 5 men in the parliament, you need only 5 women to fulfill the quota. You could have 12 other members of other genders, or you could have 12 other members of other genders. This motion is about increasing quality for too long. Men have been prioritised over women. Our goal is to make that fair.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a refuter. The Honourable Claire Chessman.
Mr. Speaker, Honourable Claire Chessman. How can you ensure real equality when you're enforcing gender rather than parliamentary skills?
The Honourable Member is reminded that I am neither doing any...
Apologies, I repeat my statement. How can the government ensure real equality when they are enforcing gender rather than parliamentary skills? If there was a concern about females in parliament, we would push towards women being educated in law and politics rather than being marginalised and making them feel like they can't even attempt for this role. What this idea is supporting is the motion of just putting women into parliament to seem like the government supports equality. Providing them the opportunity and education for women to succeed through hard work and merit with the government support. This motion is simply condescending towards women by just indicting them into parliament. Forced equality is not equality.
I thank the Honourable Member, and I name the member who clapped. Apology accepted, Mr. Buckridge. I call upon a refuter. We love to see that. Oh, sorry, a sponsor, of course. Is there anybody on my list? The Honourable Ishka.
Mr. Speaker, Honourable Ishka Mahajan. It is believed that women don't want to take leadership role by the men, always. Even in the politics, even in a workplace, IT industry, STEM industry, so which creates a bias in promoting and hiring decisions, because men think that women actually can't lead. Women can lead. It's a fact. Because the statistics say that. Before anybody makes a remark, I just want to say that these statistics are actually from my undergrad supervisor and from the researchgate.com. And these, I'm speaking on the base facts rather than no editors here. Women, as we know, are on very hierarchical levels, but they're not getting correct representation. But the point is, point made by the other opposition, that more the competition, more the women will be there, so more the competition will be there. So that's actually on the basis of the merit and the talent. So rather than saying that we are just giving things to just one woman or just women, it's just making no point, because the more the competition is there, the more talent is coming all together. The statistics also say most things that show that women are rated in excelling in resilience, taking initiative, and teaching ethics to others, because they are found to be more emotional and more inclusive than men. Because they take all the family all together. Because they think it is a workplace. It's not only a workplace, but it's rather than a home for there. It is also found that they're better developing strategic perspective and technical professional expertise is with the women. And driving for the results and displaying high integrity and honesty. Honesty is the skill that women strive for, and it has been found even by the statistics that they drive the honest results out of all the employees in the workplace.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a refuter. the Honourable Lachlan Priest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Lachlan Priest.
Ladies and gentlemen and all others in this chamber, the motion that we are debating today is simply a disgrace. A slap in the face to strong women in politics everywhere. An attack on non-binary, pansexual and transitioning people. Not to mention a logistical nightmare that could tear down the democracy that we in Australia and South Australia have kept for over 100 years. This motion is a slap in the face to strong women. The Honourable Miss James mentions Julia Gillard, who was elected without silly quotas to try and force her into She was selected as Prime Minister on her own merits. The Honourable Penny Wong was selected on her own merits. The Honourable Amanda Wishworth was elected on her own merit. This shows that the public and political parties don't need quotas to be able to have strong women in politics. And there are strong women in politics that we have seen both in South Australia, and around the world. But I would like to see the government refute that. This motion is also a slap in the face to LGBTQI. These people are blatantly discriminated against in this 50-50 quota that only takes into account the two main genders. As any year 4 could tell you, 50-50 would imply that there is only two people or two groups of people in this quota.
Relative.
And as the Honourable Mr. Wilcox has stated, Mr. Speaker, this is the next generation of politicians. As you look around here, we see many strong women in this room which are taking fantastic steps to becoming parliamentarians. And another of our Honourable members suggested where to draw the line for quotas. Do you have a quota based on race, a quota based on cultures, socio-economic background, sexualities, age, political beliefs? How many quotas do you have to have to ensure forced diversity? But also I say shame on the Honourable Minister for trying to push misogynistic views and gender roles in the pursuit of forced diversity and forced feminism. I say this, if the government really believes in equality, they will not vote for this bill.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a sponsor, the Honourable Georgia Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Georgia Daly. Does the opposition not understand the battle that Honourable members such as Julia Gillard, Penny Wong, Tanya Plibersek and Amanda Richworth had to go through to get to the positions that they were so privileged to hold? Do they not understand the abuse, the sexist, the misogyny? Julia Gillard had to get up in front of the nations and tell the leader of the opposition that he was being sexist and misogynist. I guarantee you that the leader of the opposition at the time has never had to get up and say that to the leader of the government. The government believes that there is a reason that other governments around Australia have been imbalanced in gender, class and ethnicity for so long, because they are afraid to take real, concrete steps for real change. Skills approaches such as educating women in law and politics are a great idea, but you know what? They do not work in the long term. I recently wrote a book. The statistics say that at the rate we are going, it will take until 2095 until we see some kind of gender equality in our governments. We need to start now, and we need to start somewhere. If it is with 50-50 gender disparity, then that is a
What
start.
about education?
That's the next step. Then we can work on other things like ethnicity. Then we can work on even more diversity, so we can see in our real government what we see here today. The diversity that I see here today, and I want to see this in governments in South Australia. We will never see the change in our lifetimes if we don't try, and we need to try.
I thank the the Honourable Member. Just before we continue, so I appreciate its relevance to the context of this debate and discussion. I think we've all made our points about the federal politicians, and I think we should steer the conversation away from that now in order to continue to remain that this discussion remains non-partisan. Thank you. I now call upon a refuter. The Honourable Member at the back.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable
Yeah.
I would like to address that the purpose of the bill is to put more females into the parliament. Subsequently, attempting to support females, I understand that the aim of this bill is to create a more equal playing field for everyone, but there are certainly better ways to start this. I want to address that we should be choosing representatives based on their skills and qualifications rather than their genders. I also acknowledge that women have been historically accused in political matters, which has led them to be less represented in leadership roles and political journey. However, the purpose of this bill is to fix this problem that is poorly thought out, as there are many other approaches that can be taken to empower females so they can take on political positions. That approaches that do not pose the risk of individuals that reach less suitable qualification entering a job as crucial as decision making it ambiguous decision. My point is, Speaker, the goal that this bill is trying to achieve, which is essentially empowerment of women, is definitely a commendable goal. But the approach that this bill is trying to make, achieving the goal risks the employment of less qualified individuals for the wider society.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a sponsor. The Honourable J. Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable J. Cohen. This motion will encourage less stigma, tokenization and delegitimisation of women in Parliament, or have future intentions of becoming in Parliament, such as yourselves, such as the opposition. Stigma is technically defined as a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. Delegitimization is to withdraw legitimate status or authority from any person or persons. This is shown in parliamentary practices among women, as they are the minority and discriminated against, as well as the societal pressures that they feel from their male colleagues and from society as a whole. Thank you.
I thank the Honourable Member. Before I call upon a refuter, I'd just like to say while the members are discussing in the chamber, completely fine, just trying to keep your whispers down so it's not distracting to other members who are speaking. I'd now like to call upon a refuter, please. The Honourable Shakila.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Shakila here. I would like to draw the attention of the government to a point that democratic process requires the participation of all the citizens. So this 50-50% overall shows that here is a discrimination for the non-binary people, it's been excluded, and also across Australia, women continues to be significantly underrepresented in the parliament and also in the executive government, comprising less than 1/3 of all the parliamentarians and 1/5 of all the ministers. So Australia's ranking for the women in the national government continues to decline when compared with the other countries. My question is, does the government have an answer to why the women continues to be underrepresented in Australian system of parliamentary democracy, and also why are they not including all the citizens, which is why they are completely excluded is non-binary people.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a sponsor. The
have jobs about working in a parliament.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a repeater. The Honourable Jesse Rashid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Jesse Rashid. This motion takes the simple binary man-woman dynamic of gender. It disqualifies anyone that is not male or female from entering Parliament and doesn't allow 50-50 is not a realistic split. No parliaments in the world have a 50-50 split of two genders. No parliaments in the world, they are either over or under. This is also a threat to democracy. It can lead to democratically elected candidates being disqualified from parliament. And that's just not how South Australia works. The government cannot disqualify democracy. One of the members of the government referred to male-dominant politicians striking down these quotas in the houses of law. This isn't equality. That is disparaging a whole gender, and that is absolutely ridiculous. Another member of the government said, look to all genders regardless of who they are. That is unless they're not male or female. The government has also said this motion does nothing about equity. I don't think the government understands the difference between equality and equity. Why not push greater social programs that benefit underrepresented groups in Parliament? Instead of pushing targets. If equity is done right, equality will follow. So let's move with real progress, not unfair and undemocratic motions. Even though it has statistics, fractions, or ratios work. And stop me if you prefer that before, but two halves creates a whole. Why would anyone who doesn't identify as female or male be able to join the parliament? What is relevant to me?
Have you listened to Harry's speech?
Thank you,
Thank you. I thank the Honourable Jesse for his speech. I call upon a sponsor. The Honourable Logan Baxter.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Logan Baxter.
Mr. Speaker, the opposition continues to talk about merit and democracy, about work as a politician and not focusing on agenda. And I have a simple question for the opposition, Mr. Speaker. Then why, as our government has already stated, do we only have 1/3 of females in our state parliament? When we look around,
Before the member continues, one of the members of the opposition said, because of people like you, remember that interjections are still directed towards me. I'd like to think that that's not the case. Just be mindful that interjections should be directed through the chat as well. The member may continue.
does the opposition suggest that we merely do not have enough women of merit in our state? That the reason we do not have as many women as men in Parliament is because there just are not enough women doing as good a jobs as men? We need only look around to tell that that is not the case, that there is no education or training needed because there are plenty of women who have the education, who have the training, and do not have the recognition. Women, the quota is a quota, a social quota. It is not a threat against democracy. Requiring we need X amount of men or women. It is a step in saying that yes, we hear you, we recognise you, there are women of merit, there are women who can do just as good a job as men. And we want to see you in Parliament. It is a social quota saying that is what we are striving towards. True equality and democracy in our Parliament and in our state.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a refuter.
Yep,
I My view of Arjun is unfortunately obstructed by the Leader of the Opposition, but hello, there you are, you may speak.
Your Honourable Arjun Kushasha. This bill totally disregards merit and democracy as a whole. We expect the voters to elect the right candidate when they're looking for an unnecessary lens of gender. I ask the government, how is that equal representation at all? Also bars people from being elected just because they don't fall into the quota of gender. I ask the government again, how is that equal representation at all? Also disregard the already elected members. What happens to them? Are they just kicked out of the parliament? No. This bill is totally outlandish and it does not take voters and it does not take into the fact that
The voters are 50% women.
does not take into the fact that the voters and South Australian democracy.
Alright, thank the Honourable Member. I'm glad that Mr. Purcell is getting slowly more defeated with his interjections. Quite loud to start with. Let's call upon a sponsor. Who's been standing for a while? The Honourable Fatima?
Mrs. Speaker, the Honourable Fatima Mohammed. Here in Australia, we practice representative democracy. Representative democracy makes it so that we can elect people to represent us and our interests alike. We, the government, believe that having representatives proportional to the female population ensures this, thus endorsing the implementation of this motion. Gender quota for increased representation in the political system isn't a new abstract idea. In fact, more than 100 countries have a gender quota. This must suggest that they're effective. In Sweden, when they raised the female political representation from 30% to 50%, the proportion of competent male leaders increased by 8 points. This suggests that men who are mediocre will be replaced by competent and therefore more suitable female leaders. If the opposition cares about merits, if the opposition cares about skills, if the opposition cares about experience, they will be in agreement with this motion. But clearly, they don't, despite speaking extensively about the importance of merits. If they cared about merits, they would stop creating comfortable positions, safe spaces for incompetent men. The Honourable Opposition spoke about how we need more women in power. We, the government, believe the opposition is confused. If they cared about women in politics, they would care to implement this bill. Sorry, motion. I take that back.
Thank you. So I will just note that we have approximately 15 minutes left for this debate. We still do have to do a vote at the end, so for all future contributions, if you could please try to keep them as short as you can, so you have as many people having an opportunity to speak. I will now call upon, also if you have already spoken in this debate, you won't be picked again. I call upon a refuter. Yes, Jace is on my list.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Jason Trialis. Mr. Speaker, this motion disgusts me. 50% representation would hurt me to my core. It would just be wrong. Traditional gender roles were implemented for a reason, and I think we should revert back to those. Therefore, I think it is
Mr. Demetriadis is entitled to his views.
Therefore, I believe that it is vital that men go back to the garage and the golf course and leave the decision making to the females. Here in the opposition, we believe that there is no need for men representation. This is due to them not containing the mental capacity, the emotional maturity that is needed to make. Mr. Speaker, there are no seats for men in our state parliament.
I thank the Honourable Member as the member also reflecting on my seat in this parliament. I'll leave that to him. I call upon a sponsor. Yes, the Honourable Luke Hall.
Thank you. I would just like to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to speak. But we need to remember that this motion will help inspire young females in our communities to stand up. They only have a small percentage of female role models. Help them to aspire to do whatever they want. And I would encourage the opposition to vote for this motion.
I thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a refuser. Just looking at the list of who has spoken. The Honourable Jackson Ali.
I believe, regardless of their gender, anyone is capable of ruling over this state and country. As someone who prides themselves on effort I put into achieving a difficult task, getting into Parliament is nor simple nor easy. With this motion in place, not only will hard effort, blood, sweat and tears be made null and void, we will have the essence of our democracy thrown away for a ticked box. Democracy is the election of a desired applicants who, the people decide, who are fit to rule. True democracy is not dictated by quotas of arbitrary numbers. Speaking of numbers, 47 seats in the House of Parliament. One cannot get 50% of an odd number. I do not believe that what lies between one's legs decides what makes them fit to rule. I personally feel belittled if the only reason for my election was that what was between my legs. Courage, braveness, hardiness are all qualities that make leaders. And I believe all women in this chamber are fit for that. I will end on one simple note. I will let the people decide who is to represent them, not this motion. Thank you.
I thank the Honourable Member. Let that be the last of the discussion on what's between people's legs. I call upon a sponsor. I think we've got agreement. Oh, Colette?
The Honourable Colette Lake. So the opposition told us that, like, because we're democracy, right? So we must just, go with whoever the people vote for. However, out of the poll of, candidates, there's a majority, there's a drastic majority of men. And that is marginalized women who are not encouraged to run for politics. It's because they see politics and they see there's no chance for them to get in. There's no demand for female politicians. And so they don't want to risk just having years and years just running for it without actually seeing a chance of getting in. And also we say, right, this does not lie on the principle. This does not lie on democracy. If democracy is failing us, we must change it. And you're saying we must alter it. Anyway, so you're just saying we must base this on merit, right? But when we look at small businesses, we give them subsidies, we give them help, tax cuts. Are you saying that's not good? Should we just allow?
We don't have quota for small businesses
to have a monopoly? Men are having a monopoly in politics at the moment. And yes, thank you.
Thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a refuter. The Honourable Tyson Parkridge is the last on my list. Would you like to speak? If you don't have a speech prepared, we'll go to somebody else. Okay, the Honourable Member.
Alright, so, as pointed out, right, the Honourable Tyson Parkridge.
You should also say Mr. Speaker first.
As pointed out by the Honourable Members Lachlan, Claire and Manu, this motion simply presents a logistical nightmare. It simply cannot be rectified without exacerbating even more equality in our society. How does the government intend to make this motion happen should it pass? Do we rig local elections to only one choice of gender.
Yeah.
Gender zone.
Please.
I would just like to ignore all of those interjections.
You can just do that.
Gender zone electorates. This isn't democratic. It's not democratic at all. How is this fair? How does this allow us the right to choose? The fundamental principle of our democracy is being violated right here for forced equality. If our people want representation in Parliament, they will vote for it.
I thank the Honourable Member. Just before we move on, the Honourable Tyson Upridge stated that something about presenting a logistical nightmare, and the Premier then said, "You do." I would like to think that the Youth Parliament's operations team is doing a fantastic job, and I'd ask you to retract their comment. Thank you. I call upon a sponsor. Only members who haven't spoken, the Honourable Ryan outside. Here. Thank the Honourable Member. I call upon a final refuter. Final refuter. Choose carefully. Would the opposition like to confer to choose a final refuter?
Yes, please, Mr. Speaker.
Rock, paper, scissors. Let's out of 3.
For the final refuter, we'll call upon the Honourable Rashi of the day.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Welfare of the Day. The government has repeatedly brought up that this motion will result in a more democratic society. This motion is in fact anti-democratic. Democracy at its core is a system of governance in which the people, the general public, are able to make decisions or contribute heavily to decisions made within their society. They're able to choose who represents them and makes crucial decisions on their behalf. With this bill, this bill clearly goes against this very core of democracy itself, as civilians will not be free to vote for and truly see who they want as their representatives and their decision makers. Women will be elected into Parliament not because they are truly voted in, not necessarily because they are politically qualified for the role, but simply because they want.
I thank the Honourable Member. I now call upon the sponsor for their right of reply, the Honourable KPK. Mr. McScobiac would like to move out the way.
The Honourable KPK. Across the world, it has been shown that more equal parliaments are better able to represent the community and work to create more equal futures for everyone. This is what the government proposes to do. Women should have the opportunity to make laws for women. And this applies to all others, including non-binary people, where the parliaments commonly make laws that affect multiple members of the community. Except if these members are not represented in these parliaments where they are making these laws, then this is not democratic. The opposition has consistently referenced skill. Now, there are definitely talented and skilled women here today, in both the government and in the opposition. It is not simply about skill. It is about the opportunity to get to Parliament to demonstrate the merit and skill. Many women have merit and skill, but they are being left out of being able to demonstrate that skill. They cannot get to Parliament. This is a fundamental issue.
Them, don't force a quota.
This is the fundamental issue which we hope to rectify through our social and moral quota that recognises importance that political parties should take in good faith to put men and women equal when they present
What
them
about the
to
LGBTIQ+?
when they present them to the population, so that women can democratically elect women.
What about non-binary
Order.
Additionally, the opposition has said this will be a logistical nightmare. Well, I say, if something is difficult, does that mean we should not do it?
Yeah! Can't do it.
Was it easy introducing any equal rights reform? No, it's not easy. It is not easy, but that does not mean it is not necessary. Noes is a commitment in principle to a goal that will better everyone. It is a starting point from where we can do more change of all South Australians. This is about giving women and giving others and all South Australians a choice to democratically elect other strong, passionate and skilled women based on their merit, because they can see them in positions where they have the ability to elect them democratically and fairly.
I thank the honourable member for their contribution. There was a blowfly around before. Sergeant Miles, please eject it. Quite bothering. We will now move into the vote. The question is that the motion be agreed to. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no.
No!
I think the noes have it.
Division.
Okay, just a reminder that only whips should call division, and it should generally only be the whips from the losing side, so government whips.
Division.
Wonderful, thank you Lazarus. Division has been called. Ring the bells. Anybody wishing to abstain, that is to not vote yes or no, please exit behind shopping. Okay, the time for abstaining has expired.
Bang.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. All those in favour of the motion, move to my right. All those in favour, all those opposed, to my left. All those in favour of the motion, to my right. All those opposed, to the left. And the emergency exits are just on the sides. The chamber may now divide in silence.
Yeah.
A reminder that divisions should be silent. You should not be talking. And whips will get you to come collect your counting cards, please. Oh, right. Sorry. We'll just have Dylan and Isabel counting this one. Just a reminder to whips to not count the task force members.
The motion has failed to pass with 30 ayes and 49 noes. Members may resume their seats.
Alright, I'll just keep your attention for the time being. So well done on your very first parliamentary debate. I hope it felt really great to be debating in your parliamentary unit.